Now, almost 7 months ago, we did our best and worst of the half-year video. And I can say that because I have right above me that June 29th, we did this video. We talked about the half year. And then we did our most anticipated for the rest of the year. AJ's anticipated list, kind of half and half, to say the least. I didn't watch half of mine. But, I mean, you were disappointed with a lot of your ones you really wanted to see.
Not as many as it sounded like.
So you went back and checked them?
Well, I honestly don't remember, but I remember yeah.
Right. But you know what I'm talking about. So a lot of things have changed, obviously, with the fact that movies got really good in the second half of 2016, yet movies got really bad as well. And every year we do these top 10 lists, and every year I always wonder if I'm going to say the right thing, or if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, if I'm going to make a mistake on camera. You know, this year, I think I just want to have my little tablet here with a little bit of recollection of what happened, because don't forget, I do not have the memory he has, obviously. I do for certain things, but not for others. But the thing is, I have a little bit of a cheat sheet here to tell me what I'm going to be talking about, because, to be totally honest, sometimes I just forget movies. I just know I don't like them. So, that being said, this is our worst of 2016.
Yeah.
I was doing an intro.
But there's also the thing we want to mention about, it is getting late. This is the very end of January. Yes. We're just not getting a top list. Mm-hmm. We were kind of putting it off because there's still 3 movies I'd really like to see before doing a top list. Yep. Because I felt like it would feel very inaccurate, and you'd probably know it's very inaccurate. Yes. If I were to try to put together a top 10 list without having seen Silence or Patterson or really even Jackie. Right. Because all those have potential for greatness, especially. Obviously, Patterson is one of the movies I'm most looking forward to. Mm-hmm. Still haven't gotten there yet. We're working on it. Hopefully Silence isn't too far off either.
Well, another thing, too, is if you look at it, AJ, we talk about something that just came into theaters recently, and that's Patriots Day. And I know both of us love that movie, so that's very interesting that we don't want to discount anything. Hopefully it's not too far off to do a top video, but I would really love to see at least those 3 before we get to one. I agree with that. Like I just have a feeling that there would need to be an alteration immediately following those if we already did one, and it just wouldn't be. What would be the point if it wasn't completely accurate in the long run? So, yeah, hopefully that's before the Oscar ceremony. Otherwise, we probably will have to do it. Right. Or, I don't know. And another thing that I'm sure you guys probably know if you've been following along with the network, I took 2 months off of watching movies. So there's a lot of things on his list I probably have never seen before. And a lot of things that you watched that I know you didn't like and never reviewed that I would never watch. So I didn't pad my list or anything. I just basically judged the movies that I got to see theatrically because I didn't watch anything outrageously bad that I had to see any other way. So
we're 3.5 minutes in. You're going to timestamp this, right?
Probably. Okay. Of course I'm going to timestamp this. What we do with all things. So, as we always do, we're going to do our dishonorable mention, and then we're going to go into our top 10. Now, we're going to do this with our best of video when we get to it, and that's going to be the end of 2016. Other than the awards, we're going to be done with this year, so. Even though we're into January now, so almost in February. So, I'm going to timestamp it so you guys can find when AJ's dishonorable mention starts, and then when AJ's actual list starts. So, as I'm timestamping, I can write it down right here on this little piece of paper, exactly what time it starts. So, AJ, what is your dishonorable mention for 2016?
Well, actually, before I say that, I do want to establish one more thing. Actually, it's 2 more things.
Okay.
And that is the fact of what exactly the criteria is here.
Yes. Do that, why raise
there's been a lot of bullshit.
How so?
And well, for starters, I said this in the last one, and I have to redo that just in case. I assign a star amount to a movie after I review it, by tradition for the past couple of years.
Right.
And you'll notice that when you see a list like this, star amounts aren't always going to add up.
Right.
Like, there can sometimes be 1.5 movies that are somehow above movies that just have 1, or whatever. Or maybe even have more than that, yet somehow still have at least a mention or something.
Right.
So it's really just kind of, there are different levels of bad, and it really just kind of depends on where the movie's coming from to begin with. On top of the fact that having seen them and done a review and getting to this point, how they grow in the mind can get worse.
Oh, yeah.
Or better. Maybe. I don't know.
We'll see.
So, and secondly, there are some things I'm just not even going to bother putting here, because they'd be too easy, and they would just take up space when they're worthless to begin with, like Hillary's America, which is hard to even call a movie. Then there's like the Sharknado bullshit, which is just like,
it's not straight. It's straight to DVD though.
Like,
actually, not even that's television.
Like I've said before, putting Sharknado on a list like this, they would take it as a compliment. So I'm not even gonna do that. There's stuff like Kindergarten Cop 2, which is totally one of the worst things ever. But, you know, it's a straight-to-DVD movie. It was never going to be good anyway, so I won't bother.
Right.
There's the religious movies, which are just too easy. And then there's probably just a whole bunch of other forgettable movies that I gave 1 star to that probably won't even be here, because I've long since forgotten them. So, yes. So, keep all of that in mind. Wow, it took us 6.5 minutes to get here. Okay, my honorable mention is Rules Don't Apply.
You hate this movie.
I know, and the thing is I think honestly it stems from the fact that I was so looking forward to Warren Beatty's big comeback.
Right.
Everybody was. This was supposed to be a big deal. This was a big, long passion project that was like 20 years in the making.
He was going to get an actor nomination,
and it's this bullshit. It's this Lily Collins bullshit, is what it is. It's, for the most part, not all the acting is really there. It's not really committed, especially for a cast like this. A lot of the big cast list is mainly just a tease. It's mostly big names that just wanted to be in a Warren Beatty movie and are here for like 30 seconds. Like Ed Harris, for instance. Or Steve Coogan, even. And honestly, just looking back on it, I hate the love story. And when it gets into the whole her and Hughes thing, it just feels sleazy and borderline creepy. And it's just... no, just nothing about it. It's also really shoddily made for being a Warren Beatty movie. Like, I know he hasn't made a movie... he hasn't directed a movie since Bulworth before this.
Right.
Which was almost 20 years ago. But, I mean, still, you'd think he would have had some juice left in him, and it's pretty clear that, as far as directing goes, this did not show it. Like, if it's still in him, this movie didn't show it. And being a 20-year passion project, that's a tremendous shame. As is the whole movie.
There's so much hype for that movie, too. We both really wanted to see it. It's just, it didn't deliver at all. And that was a shame. Because I liked the song. I thought it was a cute song.
You liked it when we came out of it.
No, I thought it was a cute song. It's just like you said, like when you think about something and then have to work at a place where I have to hear people talk about it and not like it or like it. It's just one of those things that can sometimes sway an opinion. I thought that it wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst thing I saw this year. Obviously, it's not even on my list. But it's something that I can understand why you took not good things from it, to say the least.
Alright, here we go. The full thing now. My number 10 is going to be Hardcore Henry.
Oh my god.
I know. It's got a fan base. I got to talk about this in the last video. My thoughts really haven't changed.
Nope.
It's... see, I personally hate it when people do kind of, you know, say that a movie is made for a certain group of people and then try to degrade those people and, you know... just be really condescending. But I mean, let's be real, you know. You walk onto a playground, you see 12-year-olds jacked up on, you know, Mountain Dew and all that shit. There's a line like that in, I think, Triple X or something.
There was. There exactly was that line on there.
So, I hate to use that.
Michael Bisping says it, actually.
But, and you're like, yep, I think I found Hardcore Henry's fan base.
Okay, to be honest, it was very ambitious. but it just didn't work.
But no, here's the thing, is, that's the thing, is everybody played it up as this big, innovative thing.
God, I remember the marketing for it, too.
Like, we had never seen anything like this before. Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Humphrey Bogart movie, Dark Passage, where the entire first half of the movie is from his point of view. There's Maniac with Elijah Wood. This whole first-person point of view thing. And then, you know, just, oh, well, we can do that, just only make a video game out of it, more or less.
It's a video game movie that's not a video game.
Remind me what's innovative again?
Just the way that it was shot. Like, the first trailer, they worked really well with their marketing to try to cover up what they really had on
marketing is not a movie.
No, but it does control the world.
And lastly, as I said many times before, and I will continue to say, they ripped off just about every single Neville Dean and Taylor movie in existence. The good and the dreadful. So, I didn't see anything here worth taking away from it. A lot of people like Charlotte Copley in it, and loved him for like District 9 and Elysium and stuff like that. His mocap work in Chappie. Yeah, but he's just so goddamn obnoxious here. About as obnoxious as he was in the A-Team. Another movie I know people loved him in. I'm not a fan either. So, me and most people just don't see eye to eye on this one, but just not a fan whatsoever. Just obnoxious and disgusting and loud and no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Take the first scene and make it a short. That would have basically said everything you need to say. Honestly.
Okay, my number 9 is going to be Boo! Madea Halloween.
I wish I would have seen this just for the placement alone.
I honestly can't remember if I put Madea movies on here before.
I don't believe so.
That might be one of those things
It's a softball. That's what it is.
But I mean, this one just kind of really... I mean, A Madea Christmas is absolutely dreadful. But this one kind of took a whole new step in pointless and worthless.
Tyler Perry is not earnest, no matter how much he wants to be.
Well, there's the whole thing. Well, the thing that I felt wasn't the most insulting was, I mean, not only do we realize this movie is basically put upon him by the studio. Number one, dude, you could have said no. Yeah. You could have said, sorry, I don't have any ideas.
And went back to his island and then chilled for the rest of the week.
Yeah, worked with Fincher again.
Yeah, exactly. His acting's fine unless he's directing himself.
And for God's sake, another Turtles movie.
Yeah, totally. Baxter Stockman, bring it back.
But I mean, here it was like he really jumped the gun in telling Lionsgate that he had an idea when it's very clear that he didn't, and it's a very loose one. And the most insulting thing, even more so than there's one scene that feels like it's a half hour long where it's just him talking to himself back and forth, thinking he's Eddie Murphy when he's anything but. It's the fact that the movie abandoned its whole concept with a half hour left.
Really?
That's how you can tell. You were listening to my review.
Well, I know, but it's kind of went in one ear out the other.
When
sometimes.
they go, yeah, the movie has a concept and then just gives it a cheap cop-out and abandons it in the last half hour and tries to make it a father-daughter story thing. And he's basically, when he's the father, he's playing Madea out of the drag. He's playing... He is Tyler, but he looks exactly like Tyler Perry, but he's still kind of in Madea mode, is who the father is. And like I said, how bad does a movie have to be when the only recognizable faces in it are Tyler Perry and Bella Thorne? That is the lowest of the fucking low, man. Like, we've had some bad Madea movies, sure. I still stand by Madea Goes to Jail is probably the worst.
So,
but, I mean, this was... And the thing is this is almost something I was kind of halfway interested in, because it was like, oh great, Tyler Perry made another fucking Madea movie, but then it's like, wait, he's being chased by zombies and ghosts and clowns and shit? I'm curious. I'm a little curious. Right. I mean, Ernest was, chased around by a troll that turned kids into
I'm telling you, the circle of life will soon be complete. Medea's gonna go to boot camp next.
And yeah, spoiler alert. With a half hour of the movie left, it turns out the zombies, the ghosts, the clowns, all that stuff is one big elaborate prank by a nearby frat house.
That is horrible. Horrible.
A frat house, mind you, that of course has breakdancing in it. So, yes. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Number 8 is Almost Christmas.
Okay, I'm on this.
If you watch the review, you saw this happen firsthand, because this is the problem, is Almost Christmas is one of those movies where I didn't exactly know. I mean, it was a huge pain in the ass to watch.
Yes. And
it was so long. It was like 2 hours, which is average, but for a movie like this, long.
Really
very long. And, I was miserable watching it. It was just like, I just don't like anything about this. The Danny Glover thing was kind of nice with the pie and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, everything else, it was just absolutely positively painful. The forced love stories, the little conflicts. This guy clearly hasn't been in contact with a human being for quite some time to know how they interact for real. David E. Talbert, one of the worst people to ever happen to the movie industry. At least as far as writing and directing is concerned. With this and Baggage Claim. But there is I'm about to cry.
Baggage Claim pretty much broke you.
But despite everything I just said, Almost Christmas was not a movie that I truly, positively realized how much I hated it until long after the fact.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
I watched it and it was just like, yes, this movie sucks. I kind of thought it would, but I was going to give it a chance. But yeah, it sucks. But then the more I thought about it and talked about it, I just realized how just infuriating the existence of this movie is. And how it's basically everything that's wrong in these whole... And there are so many damn movies like this already. And you have to go... I mean, if you can make a good one, by all means make a good one. But don't do this.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yes. Just absolutely, positively infuriating, this movie. Where all the points, except for one storyline that's very, very smally in there. Smally. We're going there now. It is the 20th after all.
Yeah.
And so dreadful movie by, as of right now, a dreadful filmmaker. Giving him the benefit of the doubt there. He could come back. He could do something real great. I don't want to shut him out. Because people have come back from worse.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But, yes, okay. So that's that. My number 7 is Independence Day Resurgence.
Oh my god.
Probably one of the more painful movie experiences of the year. I could not... I wasn't being too obnoxious because nobody else was in the theater. You witnessed this. I could not stay in my seat.
Nope.
That's how much this movie was getting to me.
It reminded me of what happened with Pink Panther. When you basically got up, you came back and it's like, hi, I'm AJ's ghost. And I'm like, what?
Independence Day Resurgence is one of those movies where, I mean, every now and then you get, I know this is like just a thing to just latch onto, but I mean, if you've seen this damn movie, you know what I mean. There are these annoying moments in movies that are poorly written. Mm-hmm. Like, look at anything Joel Kinnaman says in Suicide Squad. Really, really poorly put together exposition.
Right.
That in no way resembles anything somebody would say to another person.
True.
And I know you're thinking, what's realism got to do with this? It's an Independence Day movie, aliens, invasions, etc. Yes, but as far as character interaction goes, with movies like Alien Invasions, where the world has to come together, characters are a very important thing.
True.
Like even, I don't know. It's hard to say that the characters were fantastic in the first movie, but I mean, it looks like, Sidney Lumet made the first movie when you look at that.
And we watched these back to back too. That's probably another nail in the coffin too.
Yeah, because of the double feature thing. I fucking hate... the exposition thing. Like, every single line of dialogue in this movie is somebody explaining something to another character. And that sounds like, oh yeah, that'd get annoying. No, when you're watching the movie, it just drills itself into your head and gets worse and worse and worse every time somebody explains shit.
Right.
Like, every single thing they do, they have to tell you what they're doing and why. And like I said, sometimes in the right movie, in the right context, that can be helpful. Because sometimes movies don't do that, and you're like, what is even going on? I don't understand. But there are movies like Independence Day Resurgence, where it is every single line of dialogue, and it will literally drive you to insanity. And I haven't even mentioned the fact that a lot of these lines are delivered by Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I mean, you want to talk about one of the worst things that happened to the movie industry in the past few years. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, Liam Hemsworth. Anytime he headlines a movie, just fuck off. Get away from it. Seriously. I go through this every time, but I mean, still, Cut Bank, Empire State, Love and Honor. Oh my god, did you people even see this shit?
Obviously not, because... I mean, there's reviews, that's about it.
I mean, oh my Jesus. And what they did, I really didn't like what they did to Bill Pullman's character.
No, yeah.
It kind of makes sense, and it is a really, okay, yes. When he shows up at the end, and he's like clean shaven, he's like, I'm gonna go back up there. That's a big moment. Right. That's a, yes. That's what I wanted to see in this movie. But that's like 10 seconds out of 2 hours.
It felt long, too.
Goldblum, God, they're not even trying with Goldblum here. They're like, hey, you know that Goldblum thing? We didn't write you any lines. Just do your Goldblum thing. With no direction.
That's what it says in the script. Do the Goldblum thing.
Yes. And so I guess it's not his problem that they did that shit. So, yeah. So, just everything about this movie is bad. I wanted to walk up just like Peter McNichol in Ghostbusters 2. Walk right up to Roland Emmerich and say, everything you're doing is bad. I want you to know it. Okay. 6. 6 is a movie I kind of briefly talked about recently, and that's Max Steel.
It scares me. You hate this movie that much.
Yeah. Max Steel is another one of those movies where... Do you remember I Am Number 4?
Yes.
From about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that with a superhero costume.
Ooh.
Like I said, with Earthquake, I go thrown into it for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, this is based on like toys or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, you could never tell, because nobody who has ever played with toys in their life would accept this. Because if you've done that, you have at least the slightest ounce of creativity in you. Okay? Because you create stories or you do whatever you're going to do with action figures. Nobody behind the writing process or any kind of process, I refuse to believe Max Steel had any process at all that went into it. It is just a dude I've never seen before with this really annoying, supposedly comedy relief flying robot that's apparently an alien, because he tells us this over and over again. And he's supposed to be our comedy highlight. Every single thing that this little robot alien says is actually supposed to be funny. And
how well this do in the box office?
I'm gonna tell you. Well, it was at our theater, and mind you, we're Regal.
Right.
Open Road released this movie.
Yes.
Open Road is owned by
Regal. Yes.
Which means they typically try to have as much confidence as they can.
Most of the time, yes.
Our Regal had Max Steel for 1 week.
Still not rollerball.
Yeah.
Nothing's rollerball and never will be.
And he is in... It's a superhero movie, supposedly. But here's the thing, is the robot, alien thing, whatever...
Sure.
And like I said, it's not even... It's one thing that, he doesn't shut the fuck up and he thinks he's being funny.
Mm-hmm.
The guy doing his voice sounds like he's doing an impression of Jesse Eisenberg. Now, mind you... The Social Network. I could listen to Jesse Eisenberg talk all day if I'm watching The Social Network or something.
Right, of course.
Or Cafe Society.
Yes, we'll talk about that soon.
A dude doing an impression that seems to be, I think it's his real voice, but it sounds like it'd be an impression. Yeah, just imagine. I know you didn't see the movie, you have to imagine. Just blood all down the ears, inside of the face. And the thing here is, as I was saying, the robot alien is the suit, is the superhero suit. You know how in the later Iron Man movies when Downey could just like do this and it just formed on him? That's basically what Steel's the name of the fucking thing, does.
Jack.
And I believe he's in the suit 3 times in the movie.
Okay.
1 time to fight the very, very obvious, totally not Andy Garcia bad guy. And the other 2 times, or the first 2 times, he just kind of stands there. And this is one of those movies where the action scenes are mainly compiled of flashing lights and dust. Yes. So, as you can see...
this sounds horrible.
If you had action figures like this, even if you're like 40 or 50 years old right now, just doing something with action figures will just be incredibly more entertaining than watching some piece of shit like this. What are you doing, Maria Bello? You're better than this. Okay. Now, number 5 is going to be... You were looking, weren't you?
Yes.
Number 5.
I don't hate these movies. I love it. I really enjoy these movies.
Number 5 is Now You See Me Too. I swear this movie is going to kill me by existing, even though I only saw it once and will only ever see it once. But anytime I even think about it, though, it's like, when did this come out? It was on the last time we did this, so it was at least half a year ago. Mm-hmm. And just still, the title, I don't even have to think about the movie, the title just puts a rage inside me that I can feel. And it makes me very...
I don't know why you hate this movie so much.
Okay, even as somebody who claims to like it somewhat.
I do enjoy it.
You seriously can't look at the movie and come up with a reason why I would hate it.
There's a video that exists if you want to know what all AJ thought about this movie.
Yeah, but to put it, just to condense it if you don't know.
I'm doing this for our viewers.
There's just so... this movie is just everything wrong with this whole... I honestly feel like the trend may have started, or at least revamped itself, when Steven Soderbergh made Ocean's 11.
I think you were going to go back to the Ocean's movies.
Because, while I actually do like Ocean's 11...
Right.
I do not like Ocean's 12 and 13, and that is because he really, really overplayed what he was doing in Ocean's 11, and that was everything is cool because everybody involved in the making thinks they're being cool. So they're going to do a bunch of things that make them feel slick and make them feel clever, make them feel like they're ahead of the audience, when really it's just a whole bunch of cheap bullshit. And in this particular movie, though, they take that to a level I've never seen before. I don't even know that can be topped. Where I hated the first movie so goddamn much because of this whole thing where everything is just so obvious and so cheap. It's one of those movies that is it's smug as fuck.
Well, yeah.
And you think that's a good thing?
In this case, yes.
Do tell.
For this movie, I think it fits what you're seeing on the screen for it to be smug, because that's the point of the movie. Is to be as smug and be as flashy as possible.
Well, Jesus Christ, if it couldn't get any more unlikable, it's supposed to be smug, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Well, holy shit. So anyway, this really just defies this whole thing, where it's the whole... Oh, we're illusionists, okay?
Yes, I like magic. This is the reason I like the concept of this.
You like illusionists.
Yes.
Magic does not exist. You like illusionists. So the problem here is that this movie builds up, these are illusionists.
Yes.
And they're using their clever little sleights of hand to do stuff and get away with stuff.
Correct.
Okay, there's one problem. This movie has fucking magic in it. And I mean magic. And I don't mean magic, I mean... bullshit cheap movie magic to give to these characters to do cheap shit to make them get away with anything and give the movie no suspense, no clever moments, absolutely nothing whatsoever, because these characters can do anything they want, and even if they can't, the script will make sure that they can when necessary. I still am not over that fucking hypnosis thing where it's like we can't hypnotize, we can't put Woody Harrelson's twin brother, whatever the fuck that was, under hypnosis. We cannot put his character under hypnosis. He's too smart. We tried it, it didn't work. And then at the end, they're like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Why don't we try to hypnotize Woody Harrelson's brother? Done. And that's all it takes. And they just do this. and everything.
There's a lot of
Why are they the most wanted people in the history of the world, and they just go on stage? Jesse Eisenberg walks around like it's nothing. Nobody recognizes him. Oh, he shaved his head because he played Lex Luthor. We don't recognize him now. Or it's the whole Dave Franco supposedly dead in the first one when he clearly wasn't in that movie. They're still playing that up in this one. And then it's like, oh, whoa, you're hiding yourself with a hat, kind of. You totally look like that dude that's supposed to be dead that's really damn famous. Do I even need to go into the Lizzie Kaplan bullshit? Oh my god. Like, that might be one of the most hateable movie characters in the last at least 5 years. And I just saw Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage, which had at least 3 Lizzie Kaplan characters in it. Oh my god. Long story short, I hate this. And you know what I really, really, really hate about this? More than anything? Well, that would be the smug bullshit. But one of the things I do really, really hate in this movie is how heartbreaking is that cast list. Jesse Eisenberg, Ruffalo, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Daniel Radcliffe even.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm missing people.
You didn't mention Woody, but...
Yes, Woody, God, of course. God,
I like Dave Franco. He's starting to get out there.
I don't think it's that I dislike Dave Franco. It's just that he's been in like 2 movies I didn't think were complete shit. Right. It's like, hey, Dave Franco, I might like you, but you made Now You See Me 2, Neighbors 2, and Nerve in the same year. Are you trying to kill us all with your shittiness?
And only one of those movies is on your list. Keep that in mind real quick, viewers.
Oh, I think I just mainly forgot Nerve. I think that's what helped it.
I like the concept, but...
Long story short...
I'm easier to please sometimes.
I don't like Now You See Me Too. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
No, you don't.
Number 4 is How to Be Single. Another one of those movies that just gets worse the more you think about it, you know? It's, let's see, it's almost a year old now. Let me really dig deep here for the memory. Well, Rebel Wilson's in it.
Credits.
3 strikes.
Credits
3 strikes.
right away.
No, she's been like, I liked her in Pain and Gain.
Yeah. We can agree on that.
I liked her in Pain and Gain. That's about it. She's been in a lot of movies. Pain and Gain is okay. And then we have Dakota Johnson, who's not particularly, much either in the department. I love Leslie Mann. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion or not, but I do. I love Leslie Mann. And it's Keep Your Cattle Prod Away From Me, Judd Apatow. And there's, who was the other one? There's one more. Alison Brie?
Should be.
That sounds right. I can't tell if I'm confused because we've just talked about Dave Franco or if it really is Alison Brie.
We will be talking about that movie again in my list, so don't worry.
And this is one of those movies where it's all about, it thinks it's being clever and it thinks it's being realistic about its portrayal of relationships.
Nope.
Oh my god, is that not a laugh?
Yeah,
so anyway,
pretty much.
Well, yeah. And it's... I'm sorry, was that insulting? But the thing about that is, it's one of those cases where, will the misogynist find love? Will the person who wants to be single fall in love? Will everybody... And that's the whole point. The whole point of the title of the movie is How to Be Single. How to Be Single. After about a half an hour, it's a relationship drama.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's trying to be this wacky comedy and this really raunchy comedy. But good lord, it takes itself so seriously. Like the entire last 40 minutes is a straight drama. And then there's the whole, is this the, I'm just losing them all now. Is this the movie where Leslie Mann gets pregnant and then wonders why nobody wants to take her on the dating scene?
Yes.
And then it's like, the dude, like she says like, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant to the dude she's with. And he's like, whoa, what the shit? And he's like, because he doesn't know it was artificial insemination. So his first thought is, she just went out and fucked a dude. Well, we're dating. What's going on here? And so she could say, no, it's artificial insemination. Don't worry about it.
But
and it happened before we got together. But no, she just lets it play out. Because this movie has to be 2 hours long. And she doesn't, and she's right there in front. It's not like he said, "Oh no, don't talk to me." No, he was standing right there. She was standing right there, and she doesn't fucking tell him that it's not that.
That's right.
That's the kind of script this is dealing with. And then, like I said, I initially gave the movie credit for the Damon Wayans Jr. scenes. But come to think of it, that's all the more reason to hate the movie. Because I liked those scenes initially when I saw them because of how he played them so seriously and how he played them well.
Right.
And it was like, this seems, too heavy to be in this movie because this is kind of an interesting aspect. But honestly, yeah, when you think about it, that just makes the movie worse. Because it's like, okay, why are these scenes here? Why are they in this movie this late into it, by the way? We're over an hour. We're in already by this point, I think.
It felt like 6 years.
I don't even remember. Alison Brie was the whole, the misogynistic, bartender, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, I have my pad set up for one-night stands only, and I push the girls out. They take the walk of shame and all that shit.
Been Alison Brie, I know what you're talking about.
I don't fall in love at all. Never. And then, of course, being a dick and saying, like, hey, I'm just intentionally being an asshole to you. That's gonna be, and it's not even that, diluted all girls go for the assholes thing. It's not that at all. The dude is literally a fucking piece of shit.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But she's still like, oh, well, maybe he's got some good in him. I'll show him love until he's no longer a misogynist, and then that'll work. And sure enough, everybody gets a damn happy ending. Movies, no.
No, please don't do this anymore.
This movie is to people who have relationship issues with the way, like, the God's Not Dead movies are with religious people. No, these are not healthy for you. Nope. Very, very unhealthy. Yeah. But man, its target audience really loved it.
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Number 3 is Mother's Day.
Oh my god.
Which was number 1 before. And I know, the question is, this wasn't the case when it came out, and it wasn't the case during a half-year video. So now the question is, should I be more sensitive now? Because, as I unfortunately kind of predicted in the review, this was in fact Gary Marshall's last movie.
Yeah.
So... I don't know, I gotta kind of, because, okay, I don't know, how long was that review? Do I even need to say anything else?
He buried that movie righteously.
This is one of those, it's kind of like,
number 1.
It's kind of like, obviously we started with, they're probably basing it on Love Actually. So they tried to kind of do that with Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve. There might have been another one, I don't know. And they did Mother's Day where we got Jennifer Aniston and Julia Roberts and somebody dug up Kate Hudson. So, because, for some reason something borrowed didn't ruin her career. But remember that piece of shit with, like, Jennifer Goodwin. With, like, the tennis and shit.
Oh my
whatever
god.
The fuck that was.
Yeah, dude.
But anyway, before this goes into a tangent about some forgotten romantic comedy that's 6 years old, Mother's Day is like, it's one of those cases where nobody in this damn movie should be happy. Everybody is a piece of shit in one way or another. They embrace homophobia and racism as if it's endearing because old people say it. Yeah.
No.
It's like there's Facebook posts that nobody likes in a movie.
That's good. I like that.
Once again, because there's so many storylines, this movie is like 2 hours long.
It's way too long.
Oh my god, this is the one with the stand-up comedy shit, isn't it?
Yep.
The one where a baby wins a check for $5,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Jesus. Yeah. If you didn't see if you didn't see me talking about it, or you didn't see the movies, or didn't see anything else on it, this is a movie where a guy in a stand-up comedy club, by the way, he's in a really, really, really tiny comedy club that just happens to be giving away, like, $5,000 or $10,000 whoever wins this tiny little competition they're putting on. This is a little local thing.
So it's like Sing. what it would have been.
I'd definitely buy that Buster Moon had more money than these people.
Yes, without a doubt.
I'd definitely buy a little koala in a tuxedo. Matthew McConaughey's voice had more money than these people.
Oh, yeah.
In a world run by animals where I'm not even sure money exists, even though it has girls robbing banks in it. But anyway.
That's my response to you.
But anyway, so the comic goes on stage, and he doesn't even do an act. He just holds his goddamn baby because he doesn't have a sitter or anything. And his wife's off, I don't know, I don't remember. But because he's holding a baby is so charming, he wins the money. But not only does he win the money, the check is made out in his baby's name.
God, I remember people.
And then there's the whole thing where this is the movie where they have the impromptu wedding in the bar. You remember that bullshit?
Yep.
Oh my god. This, the vagina float chase. This movie has a car chase in it with a parade float that's shaped like a vagina in the middle of it.
Wasn't it like
Academy Award winner Julia Roberts is in this movie.
Yeah.
So, she has a funny line during the end. There's a gag reel at the end because of course there is, because the movie's not fucking long enough. And it's one of those cases where they have to wait to shoot the take because a train's going by in the background. And she's just waiting, and this train is going and going, and Roberts just looks into the camera, and she's just like, this is a long fucking train. And it's like, that's exactly how I feel about this goddamn movie. And I wonder if that's how she felt, too. We know you were doing poor Gary Marshall a favor, Julia Roberts, and we forgive you, because no matter how bad the movie is, everybody in this movie gets to say they were in Gary Marshall's swan song.
That's true.
Just don't call it by name, don't describe it, don't talk about it. Just say, I got to work with the late great Gary Marshall the last time he did a movie. And you can take that for the rest of your careers. Because that's all you can do with this movie after you've been in it.
He talks like an hour and I want to talk like 2 minutes.
I know.
That's how it works.
I'll try to speed through this, but I don't know how hard that's going to be because my number 2 is Rob Zombie's 31.
Still think it could be a Halloween Horror Nights maze.
Once again, this movie turned me against a movie that I used to love. Didn't turn me against it, but I don't love a movie as much as I used to. And that is, of course, everybody that knew me in 2005 knows how much I loved The Devil's Rejects.
Oh, yeah.
The Devil's Rejects was like one of my favorite movies when I was 15, which says a lot
That
about
sounds
what
horrible.
Rob Zombie's doing right
Sounds
now.
horrible the way you put that.
Oh, no, it completely describes the way Rob Zombie writes and who he writes for.
He knows his audience, I'll give him that. He's a smart guy.
Does he, though? Because he's like 50 now.
He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
Maybe musically. So anyway.
And haunt based.
And yeah, there are times where, you know, he's best as a director when he's evoking other directors.
Right.
Like when he wants to do Ken Russell or Kubrick or something. Lord knows he's not even trying to do Carpenter. The thing here is that he can get some good shots. And I think he knows, you know, well, I don't know. I would say he knows how horror works, but The Lords of Salem makes me think otherwise. But the thing is after watching 31 and realizing that this guy is not going to expand his horizons as far as what he can do, it's every character is written. I used this analogy when I reviewed it, but there's really no other way to put it. This script feels like it was written by the bad kid in school while he was sitting in detention, thinking about how he was going to get back at all of his teachers and stuff. That's what this script feels like it was written. It feels like it was scrawled into a desk at the back of the classroom. And the thing is I started to realize that as much as I love The Devil's Rejects has a lot of the qualities in it that make his movies bad now. And so it's like, did The Devil's Rejects just use them well? And he just played it out? Or am I getting older and realizing maybe The Devil's Rejects isn't all that? It's getting to the point where I actually prefer House of a Thousand Corpses to The Devil's Rejects. House of a Thousand Corpses, okay, no matter what, House of a Thousand Corpses is actually really well done.
That's going to be a fun maze to go through.
I know it gets a lot of, it's gotten a lot of hate. It might be getting kind of a following.
No, it definitely has one.
I mean, obviously it had one since it came out because he has a fan base for sure. But I mean, as far as like at the start, The Devil's Rejects was so high above House of 1,000 Corpses, it was ridiculous.
I remember when you were saying that.
And now I almost feel like House of 1,000 Corpses might be better. Because it still felt chaotic and crazy, but honestly did not feel like it was trying too hard. I mean, if you watch it by itself, maybe you'd think that, but after you see something like 31 or Halloween 2, then you realize, you know, these are just terrible qualities. And it's trying so hard to be hardcore. It's trying so hard for shock value and just being right up in your face with this brutal graphic violence and gore and shit. And it's just, and like I said, it's not even that I was put off by it. This movie is so just overdone with it and just so played out that I'm watching this horrific violence play out. People accidentally sawing themselves in half, people being beaten to death with sledgehammers, people eating people and puking it back up. And I'm just bored watching it.
You're desensitized.
What do you have to do to make that boring, of all things? Off-putting, hard to watch, cringe-inducing, anything. And it's just, I don't care. I don't care because you've just done this for so much. And it goes on and on. Zombie has had this thing going on for a long time now. Where his movies, his first Halloween movie was really bad about this. And it's definitely apparent in this one too. And that is, you could maybe even say it about the torture scene with William Forsythe at the end of Devil's Rejects, where his climaxes go on and on and on and on. And it's just people covered in blood screaming and running from somebody on a loop over and over and over again for like half an hour. And that's not even an exaggerated time. And it just gets so goddamn tired. And it's just everything about this movie is just like everything. Just like every single detail of it is too much and not in an admirable way. And dude, you've done this so many times, and every time you do it, you get worse at it. It's like, that's not totally true, because nothing will be worse than his Halloween 2. Like, I guarantee, as bad as his movies are now, with Lord of Salem and 31 and the like, he will have to try really hard to make a movie as bad as his Halloween 2. Like, that's almost an unreachable level of just, yeah. And the fact that his movies are so serious in their tones, it's like you can't even take it for a campy thing anymore. I mean, you can tell he's probably trying for that, but I mean, they just take themselves so viscerally serious, and they're so right up in your damn face. There's just nothing to take away from this at all. It's just agonizing. It feels like you're being tortured, and then you get bored with being tortured. It's like, how far past the threshold do you have to go to get to that point? And the bad thing about it is the character of Doomhead, I feel like, would be an awesome villain in any other movie. The guy that plays him, Richard Brake, I think it was his name, Joe Chill in Batman Begins. Crazy performance. God damn this movie. Such a bummer. So yes, I'm hoping, because it was only last year I watched The Devil's Rejects again, and it was just like, well, I'm really starting to kind of see through this. It's like,
so is it still your go-to with Freebird?
Well, there's Forrest Gump forever.
No.
Okay. And lastly, I feel like Jenny, when she went out on the ledge, had just watched a Rob Zombie movie.
I will say right now that it seems like Zombie is kind of transitioning away from, like, not doing much with music, and he's basically, like, he's found a nice niche of creating haunts, because for his actual Great American Nightmare tour, he has haunt versions of his movies, and they work really well, because they work really well as a visceral interpretation you could walk through. But the movies, on the other hand, are probably about tabbed. That's what it seems like. Come to us at Halloween Horror Nights. We forgive you, Rob Zombie.
Alright, we need to get this over with.
I know where you're going.
That's kind of in line with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Okay. I love that you already know what it is.
I do. Because I know how much you hate this movie. And it's something I never saw, just like 31.
And what's really nice is that most people who have actually watched it seem to be on the same page with me.
That's good.
Like, it's one of those things where it's, like, universal. So it's... Yep. Okay. The worst movie of the year, if not the decade, if not ever.
Wow.
Is Meet the Blacks. Remember that movie you probably saw one trailer for? With Mike Epps, that was The Purge. Only it was like supposed to be a spoof or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it's just a random-ass movie with The Purge's plot. No parody. No real thing here.
That doesn't work.
It's probably over halfway into the movie before The Purge even starts.
That doesn't work.
We've got, like, really easy cameos, like Mike Tyson. It's one of those cases where Mike Tyson's in the movie, so we're just to go, that's funny in itself. For some reason.
I want some guy to just say that in a theater. Just point at the screen. That's funny in itself.
Yeah, when The Hangover came out, people said that.
Yeah, they did.
So they were like, oh, well, we can do that too.
Oh, God.
So, Comedy Cemetery. Not a single funny joke in 88 minutes.
Wow.
88 minutes that feels like a day. Not 88 minutes that feels like 3 hours or 5 hours. Or like the length of,
right.
Bartolucci's 1900 or something. A day? I felt like I watched this movie for an entire day.
Why are so many people sweeping it under the rug then? Because I don't really hear this pop up on many worst lists.
Just nobody saw it.
Okay, that makes sense.
It went to 2 theaters or something. Because they knew. And the thing is it's just failed joke after 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 failed joke before we even get to the plot. It's just like they're just They're trying to do a back and forth thing. And just nothing is working. Nothing is hitting whatsoever. It's like the director he shot all these scenes and he's like, just riff a little bit. And then he's like, oh, this stuff doesn't work. And he's like, well, here, do these. And it's like, okay, that's funny enough to put in the movie. And then he took the wrong takes and put them in the editing. And that's what the movie is. And
so it's cutting room floor material.
And it's one of those cases where, this is not an exaggeration, when all else fails, make somebody start masturbating.
What?
Yes. There are 3 scenes in this movie where a character's on screen and a character will just masturbate no matter who's around. Just when a scene looks like... when the scenes don't even go anywhere. And sometimes it's just like, am I even watching the same scene I was before? Because I feel like 3 scenes have happened in this one moment. But the trouble is none of these had any point or is going anywhere. It's just people... it doesn't even feel like jokes. It just feels like people incomprehensibly talking to each other. It doesn't even feel like they're trying to make jokes. It's just every now and then there's a pause or somebody does a pratfall or something and you're supposed to go, oh, yes, I guess that was probably supposed to be a joke or something.
That sounds terrible.
But then the purge part finally comes in and it's a whole bunch, they set it up where it's like, obviously, this is one of those movies where the main characters are black and the other characters are white. And every single time a character is referenced, 9 out of 10 times their skin color is too. The whole white people are crazy thing. And there's all the stereotypes. The guy's walking around with a chainsaw, he's a white guy, and he's like, I'm not gonna hurt you, I liked Django. And it's, yeah. And so, it's... And then there's cases where we meet a couple of people. Remember in the actual Purge movies when we meet a couple of people that we know are going to come back?
Of course.
Like the neighbors in the first movie. Like Chris Mulkey and them. Well, we kind of do that here with one group of people. But then for the rest of the movie, people are showing up that we've never seen before. And it's just an array of cameos. Like, Mike Tyson shows up, and he's like, hey, my name is James Clown. I was a clown at one of your birthday parties once, and you didn't pay me, so now I'm gonna purge you. And then they kill him, and that's the end. And then Charlie Murphy shows up, and Charlie Murphy's like, hey, I'm a character you've never seen before. Because of this thing that happened, apparently off-screen, I'm gonna purge you. And they kill Charlie Murphy. And it's a continuous chain until the movie just stops.
Just stops?
Yeah, and then the purge is over, obviously. After it's gone on and on and on and on and on with these completely unrelated things to everything. Because nothing in this movie relates to anything before it. And the way it's put together, there's one scene where, like, you know how everything, like, you know how they kind of, if you're really, really desperate in a comedy, things will be, like, sped up or something. Mm. So it's like, oh, look how wacky or whatever. There's a scene that's going on when everybody's talking, and Mike Epps is in a separate place. So they're talking, they're having this conversation, and then we get a random cut of Mike Epps walking down the hallway, and it's sped up like that. And then we cut back to this conversation as if that never happened. What? And then this is one of those movies where, as if they're not desperate enough, a lot of sound effects. Like honking noises when somebody gets hit. And sometimes these honking noises will happen when nothing is happening. Like, just, they're walking through the house. It's time for a wacky sound effect. Honk.
You mean like the lights went out when they were doing sound effects for the movie and they're not even paying attention where they fit?
Yes. Like, and it just baffles me that this movie exists. Like, who would...
Okay, The Purge could make a feasible parody movie if they really wanted to go for it.
And here's the thing.
And it sounds like they didn't.
This movie sets up a sequel. To where I guess the blacks are going to go to different places.
Oh, no.
And different things are going to happen because the Purge ends... And then they leave, and they're like, we're going to go to this cabin in the woods now. And then, like, Cat Williams appears, or somebody.
I buy that. I 100% buy that.
Well, this is the last scene of the movie. This is the last scene of the movie. We've done the Purge thing, and we saw how they treated that. So the blacks are driving towards this house. I think their last name's Black.
It is.
Like, okay.
I'm pretty sure
if it's not, I'm not just calling them that. Please, I swear. I'm not a character in the movie or anything. So anyway, they're driving towards the cabin in the woods, and then a big dude with a hockey mask comes out with a machete. And we're like, oh yeah, we know what that is. And it's like, end movie. But no, this random Cat Williams-like person pops out of the bushes that we've never seen before, just to say, Jason Voorhees, I'm out of here! And he runs away. That's the last scene of the movie. After this happens actually after, like, it's like, the Purge just ends, and the movie just abruptly says, meet the blacks, and we get some credits. And then they interrupt us with this cabin in the woods, Jason Voorhees, I'm out of here shit. That is a movie that exists in the real world. Isn't that crazy?
I don't have words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you wouldn't if you saw it either. I tell you, you probably have less words than you do now.
That's not possible.
So, that's the worst shit.
All right. Okay. So, it's fun to do this. So, he talked, like I said, almost an hour about everything. Good points, as always. Bashed movies left and right. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to middle through this, I guess.
Whatever you want to do.
So like I said before, I missed 2 months, so I didn't get to see a lot of the things he saw. I did see 7 of those, so, and some of them were on my list. But my dishonorable mention is going to be Miss Sloane. I like political movies. By and large, I really do. Don't care about politics. But I like political movies. I always have. Like you said before, it's like, when it comes down to it, a good political movie works for me. But for some reason, this movie came about, and I didn't know anything about it. I knew who was in it. I knew Jessica Chastain was in it. That's all I knew about the movie going in. And that's kind of... I didn't even really know that. Yeah, I didn't really know anything. It's like, it wasn't really heavily promoted, and it was just one of those movies that should have just came and went. Well, it kind of did, but I mean, stuck in my head, and that's not a good thing. This movie's boring. This will be a really redundant piece of information I'm giving you right now. My list is populated by a lot of things I find extremely boring. Because
that's usually the death knell for a lot of movies.
Sometimes movies are good, and sometimes movies are bad. Sometimes movies are just there. And sometimes movies that are just there are that bad to make it.
It's like, to give you an example, The Room. Everybody thinks The Room is this, like, classic unintentional comedy.
I like The Room.
And they're like, it's the worst movie ever, but it's hilarious. No, the problem with The Room is that it's boring as fuck. That's why it's a terrible movie.
I like The Room, and I don't care. Shout out, by the way. The thing is, and I'll say that every single time, I'll always bring her up. So, there was a good concept here. Or somewhat of a good concept. But, like, the espionage and everything, but it's just like...
Like when they set up for the whole, the Goo Goo plot.
Yeah, exactly. The Goo Goo plot would have worked.
Where it was like, hey, we could probably show both sides of this debate.
Nope.
But we're not.
Nope.
It doesn't even matter what side you're on. It's like, if you're going to make an interesting movie, you need to show both sides.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just going to be dismissed as propaganda.
And Michael Stuhlbarg rules the world, and the more people learn that, the better off they shall be. So, I mean, I have no problem every time I see him in a movie. And I love Mark Strong, and the cast is fine. It's Alison Pill comes up here again. I mean,
I don't know why that's so funny to me. Michael Stuhlbarg rules the world.
It sounded good in my head. But yeah, it's just looking at this. Like I brought this in to cheat a little bit. I'm not trying to read anything. It's just I wanted to get an idea of what it was, because sometimes movies are so boring they kind of get mixed up with other movies. Like you were doing earlier, it's like I don't know which romantic comedy this is, but I know it's one of them because I'm probably sure it's at least like 6 of them.
Oh God, we only saw Miss Sloane like last month.
Yeah, that's another thing about my list too, and it's gonna be on my best list as well. A lot of it's populated by stuff I've seen in the second half of the year. Some things stuck around. We'll get to that later. It's just boring. It's just really boring. I don't know why. It had nothing. It had nothing going for it. That's it. Nothing I can say. Alright. My number 10. My number 10 is Passengers. Oh my god. Okay, first off, there was a lot of hype for this movie going in. And a lot of people, like Ashley especially, was like really hyping this movie up for an awards run. I remember that. The beginning of when we were doing this in August, I knew that he was like, Passengers, what about Passengers? Like, it doesn't have a release date, what about Passengers? Well, here's the deal about Passengers. First off, as it's no secret to anybody that watches these videos on the regular, AJ and myself aren't big fans of Chris Pratt. And I like Jennifer Lawrence a lot. And the thing is, it seems like, to me, she really, I can't say can do no wrong, but she brings something to her performances. And I don't like Chris Pratt, so it doesn't work for me. And the concept of this movie, the way that it's played out, Chris Pratt is lonely. So, he's gonna kill Jennifer Lawrence. That's the story of the movie. Chris Pratt's lonely, so he's gonna kill Jennifer Lawrence. Plain and simple. So, everything aside from it, all the sci-fi stuff, all the things everybody liked about it, all the likable things, all the cool things Michael Sheen did, just one of those things, it's literally...
He poured drinks.
But that's cool. That's cool in a movie like this.
There's two types of things in this world. There's pouring drinks, and there's being Michael Sheen and pouring drinks.
That's exactly right, just like Michael Stuhlbarg. The thing is, I'll bring him up at every entry here. The thing is, when it comes down to this movie, it should have been a lot better than it was. And the fact is, I think I've said this to numerous people, when it comes down to it, it's got to be if you feel sorry for him or not. If you feel sorry for the character, you may take it a different route. But like I said before, he literally is killing her by keeping her alive.
Well, you're talking about it could have been better. To my understanding, obviously it was on the blacklist for a long time.
Right.
And it actually got passed around a lot. And Keanu Reeves really wanted to do it with Blunt.
Yeah.
Which would have been amazing.
That would have been a lot better.
But the thing was, I was starting to read that apparently there's stuff that was taken out of the script.
I buy that.
That made it better. That's no longer in it when they made this, so...
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of wondering what that stuff was, and if it
might have made it better.
If it kind of went into the whole darker aspects of what the fuck he did.
But it doesn't matter anyway, because, spoiler alert, they're going to live together until they both die anyway after creating a bunch of plant life.
After multiple cop-outs.
Yeah, a lot of cop-outs. And
we're going to do this ending.
Hi, Andy Garcia. Bye, Andy Garcia. And that was more than he had screen time anyway. I mean, just saying that right there. Lawrence Fishburne shows up just to die.
Well, Andy Garcia was embarrassed to show his face because Max Steel had already come out.
Ooh. Just terribly bad movie. I do, the one thing, okay, I'll give it credit for the swimming. I thought that was cool. The water with the 0G, I thought that was cool. But that's it. That's all I'm going to say. And
0G. Watch it, John Glenn.
Ooh, don't go there. The thing is,
Hidden Figures is fine.
It's not a terrible movie. I don't hate it. I just don't think of it. I don't like its placement in the race right now. Because I like other movies better. The thing is, same with Hacksaw Ridge. I don't hate either one of those movies, no matter what any of you think. But when it comes down to it, when it all boils down to it, I wish other things were in their place. That's the best way to put it. The Passengers should never have been made in the way that it was. I'd love to have seen the original take on it. It might have been better. So, let's hope. Somewhere there's a script that exists that actually had the original stuff, and maybe somebody will find it somewhere in a cave. The next thing you know, they'll get to put it out, and everything will be great, grand with the one. We'll see. Probably not. Speaking of something we never should have seen, my number 9 is The Forest.
First movie of last year.
Halloween Horror Nights has become a fixture on this network, and a fixture for me personally, and I never thought I'd say that, given the fact I'm such a fraidy cat, and everybody knows that. But the fact remains that I judge horror movies now a little bit differently than I ever did. I judge them by your maze potential. That's the first thing I look at when I see a horror movie nowadays. And then I judge it on the movie itself. The Suicide Forest is a great concept for a film. And apparently you said Sea of Trees was better.
It is certainly more sensitive.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, there's no sensitivity here whatsoever. It's just a terribly made movie. It completely glosses over the pertinent facts that it needs to convey, and it basically is just a rehash of every single movie we've seen of its type since. That's the best way you put it. I just don't like this movie at all. We went from the first movie we saw of the year to the last movie we saw of 2016 was December.
Fences.
Yeah, it would have been Fences. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's good. We started with The Forest, we ended with Fences. So there you go. Once again, there's a great concept to be made out of this into a movie, but this was not it at all. This is like when you have 2 movies or 3 movies that have the same concept and they come out at different times. And it's kind of like, it's the Jobs thing all over again. It's like, Steve Jobs was amazing, but most people forget about Ashton Kutcher's Jobs movie because of that. And Kutcher's Jobs wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the right telling of the story. And just like The Forest, there is a real telling of this story that exists, but this definitely wasn't it.
Well, I think people may turn their nose up at the whole sensitivity issue, but when you really think about it, it's like you take just a generic shitty horror movie released in January with the jumping at the camera and screaming,
right?
The stupid, possibly cliffhanger ending,
which is going nowhere.
This just all this basic ass horror movie cliches, especially in the PG-13 area. And you take something that is so culturally sensitive to a group, and you just throw it in there, and it just seems it's just not right.
Yeah, it seems like somebody wasn't told what the movie was going to be before they agreed.
Because that's like that's a very touchy subject.
Very much so.
I mean, just think about it.
Yeah.
Just think about the concept, and you don't see this.
It's quite literally called The Suicide Forest for a reason. And they just turned this into just another schlocky January horror movie.
I mean, to their credit, yes. It does sound like the setting of a horror movie.
Yeah, totally.
But, I mean, context is important here.
Right.
So.
Well, my number 8, I've said great things about Hell or High Water and Manchester by the Sea. But when you put them in the same movie, you don't have a recipe for good. Not whatsoever. You have a recipe for one of the most boring movie experiences I've ever seen in my entire life. My number 8 is The Finest Hours. I could not get into this. I've never been a major fan of every single thing that happens in reality needs to be made into a film. I understand why they get made. Sometimes I don't agree with it, but I understand. This movie, I'm sure, needed to have its story told. And that's why there's a book about it. So there's a reason why it's told. But it didn't need a movie. It didn't need to be a Walt Disney picture either. This just feels wrong, me doing this, but it's just bad. I mean, all the stuff they did with the boat and everything, and like all the infighting and all the stuff they did with her showing up at the USO building and stuff like that. It's just, I have no words. I was so bored with this movie.
It's hardly bad. It's just...
No, it's not. Okay, that's why I said it's not that it's on my list because it's boring. This year, my worst list is basically movies that bored me because I can't think of anything I absolutely despised. That's why it's so low. There's no way to be any higher. But, I mean, like I said, there is a true story to be told here, obviously, and real people are involved in this. That a real story and a real act of heroism, everything is true. But I just did not care about the movie. I mean, I don't know how bad that makes me sound, but I mean, it's not a memorable movie. Usually realistic films usually resonate in your mind, but this one didn't at all. Like, you have anything you can say about it to make me not look like a fool?
It's got a nice cast.
Well, the cast is phenomenal, but...
like Chris Pine, Ben Foster, Eric Bana, John Ortiz.
Yeah, it's got a great cast, but didn't do anything with them. Not really.
It got Pine and Foster prepared to work with each other on Hell or High
Water. Yeah, exactly.
Some of those boat scenes are kind of, suspenseful and well put together, but...
Well put together, yes. Suspenseful, I wasn't ever really, feeling their pain. In most real-life movies, I do.
If I remember correctly, which I'm not sure because it's so vague, because it was so long ago, but, I kind of remember it being really abrupt, too.
Yeah, very much so.
I remember that for some reason I always confused it with 13 Hours.
Which almost made it on this list too, but it's not on here. There's a lot of things that almost made it on this list too that didn't, but... My number 7... I don't really have any words for this movie, I just don't know why it had to get made. My number 7 is Alice Through the Looking Glass. It is a last-minute addition on this list because I just realized, just by looking at a picture of Johnny Depp smirking at me, how much I hate this movie. The first thing that sets me off about this movie right away, not the cast, not the Mad Hatter movie that we didn't ask for. No, the first thing that sets me off is Pink. The music video for Just Like Fire that starts this movie. Why? Just why? Why is this there? This doesn't happen. I'm sure we've seen this before, but there's a reason why this stuff happens, I don't know, after the movie, or, gasp, on actual television when they really actually play music videos, which is never, but...
They actually had Pink doing the talk show circuit to promote the movie, as if she was in it.
Oh my god.
Acted in it, I mean.
It's I like Johnny Depp, I really do. I want him to do something different. I really do. I'm tired of him doing the same role everywhere.
Black Mass was just last year.
Yeah, no, that was phenomenal. But that's few and far between of what he's doing now. He's basically falling into the same, I'm going to do the same role, I'm just going to change the accent a bit. Or the way I look. And that was a Bill and Ted joke that year, too. But the thing is...
Fantastic Beasts probably isn't going to change that.
No, probably not. Not at all. Obviously he's back with Danny Elfman again because reasons. And Elfman has an amazing score, and always does. And him and Tim Burton work really well together, and always have worked really well together. So there's a little bit of I can't say mood music, I guess what the word is like.
You remember Burton didn't do this one, right?
I know. I'm just making the comment, though. But Burton was a part of the movie. He didn't direct the movie. It's kind of like we talk about
he was basically on the set of Miss Peregrine
with
a cell phone saying, "Is it going good? Okay."
Yeah, it might as well have been
producer credit.
Exactly, that's how it works. But yeah, and I look at this and I see how much money it made, and I was like, why? Why was the world really clamoring for another Alice in Wonderland movie from Disney? Why? I didn't like the other one. I don't know why this world, it makes sense, but it doesn't in actuality, because the movie just...
Maybe everybody that's ever worked at a Hot Topic wrote enough letters and got
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love Alice in Wonderland. I do. I love the original. But I just do not like the Disney version. I don't know what it is about it. It's just very off-putting.
That narrows it down.
No, I don't like the live-action Disney version.
Okay.
I never have. And I'm a big fan of a lot of things Disney's done live-action for that I haven't liked of the actual live-action versions. And this is a big one. This is the biggest one of all. I just don't like this at all. And it keeps reminding me, every single time, we always bring up Alice, we always bring up that stupid Futterwalk dance from the first movie.
At least he didn't do it in this one.
Thank God. I have a feeling it was left on the cutting room floor.
He did us a favor. He couldn't do it, because all he did was lay in fucking bed and deteriorate.
Yeah. So...
He's just like, yeah, I need to find my family, but I'm just going to sit in bed and not look for them. That's your job.
I just don't care. Just no more. I'm done.
It's like, this is Johnny Depp speaking. Work around me, okay? Give me $50 million.
Come on, Johnny Depp.
Amber Heard needs it.
After Black Mass, seriously, just start making movies like that again, please. I beg you. Don't make any more of this kind of stuff, please.
I was thinking there was something potentially interesting coming up for him, but I can't think of what it is.
I guess we'll see. The Rum Diary always made me laugh, but I think that was just that one scene with the car and everything.
Raped him to death.
Indeed.
You might want to get moving.
Really? I know we like to throw softballs out of this, but I had to say that I don't like this guy at all, and I never will like this guy. No matter what side you swing when it comes to politics, no one can understand how much I dislike Dinesh D'Souza. Yeah, my number 6 is going to be Hillary's America. I hate this guy. I do. I think he's just needs to stop making movies. The stuff that he did, like the stuff with like the guys in prison and everything, like I wish it would have been like an outtake of Scared Straight and we would have had more fun with that. And it's like the weird like reenactments that were extremely violent for no reason.
Well, you know what the worst part of all of this is?
They'll do more. Because
of the election's outcome, Dinesh D'Souza probably thinks he was solely responsible.
I'm sure he does. I mean, he's responsible for going back to jail, but that's another story for another time. But people buy into this stuff. I don't get it. I mean, no matter if you're Republican, Democrat, no matter what you are, why do you buy this guy? He is a documentarian that should never have been given a camera in the first place.
Documentarian's pushing it.
No, I'm using his words, not mine. I've been a Michael Moore supporter pretty much since day one, and I don't care. No matter what side, any sort of politics, I like Michael Moore. I think he's a very, very good filmmaker. I've enjoyed his stuff. I've enjoyed everything he's done, some a lot more than others, but I've enjoyed everything he's done. But Dinesh D'Souza, something about him, I don't know what it is. It's got that Spencer Pratt, that punchable face. You just want to forearm him right in the jaw. This thing, I just don't like this guy. He's a goof. Straight up. He's a wrestling terminology. He's a goofy guy that should not be in front of a camera.
Or behind it.
Or even near it. I mean, he shouldn't even be allowed to write the word camera on a piece of paper.
It says a lot how much he loves to film himself.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I just don't care. Secret History of the Democratic Party. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying the entire title, but anything this guy's done has been horrible. I mean, he's like, imagine if this happened. Imagine if the world exploded. Imagine if America never existed. I was like, what is this stuff? stuff.
His stuff is the ramblings of an insane person.
He's a crazy person that's saying the end is nigh, standing in Times Square.
That's the thing, is he'll be saying one thing,
and
then he'll be in a totally different tangent, then he'll be in a totally different place. It's like he's battling multiple... He's like James McAvoy now.
He is!
He's like...
Can we see his other personality, please? Maybe they're entertaining.
And then he's one person, and it's... What are you doing? What are you fucking talking about?
I mean, I don't...
But remember, the point that he really wanted to make was that what all of this comes back to, the Democratic Party, fucking slave owner Andrew Jackson, fucking Birth of a Nation coming to life and running around the White House lawn.
Right.
What all of this comes down to is, it was Al Capone.
Oh, I like Hillary with the free lunch. Like, going from different places to solicit free lunch from everybody and, like, doing it in a circle and everything. I don't like this movie. Please don't make any more movies. I know you will, but please don't. Do us all a favor. I'd say don't make any more movies for number 5, but just don't go down this route again. I think we found Kevin Spacey's Garfield. Quite literally. My number 5 is 9 Lives.
Garfield isn't this bad.
No, it's not. But I'm talking about from other people's perspective.
But
a lot of people don't like Garfield.
But you know I couldn't put 9 Lives on here because...
I could.
I'm a Spacey devotee.
I know.
I can't do it.
I like Barry Sonnenfeld. Always have. Love Men in Black. Men in Black's amazing. The cast is good. Does well. But they got nothing to work with. They've got... Oh my god, the green screen in this movie. Like when they're on top of the roof, and you could definitely tell that they're not on top of a roof.
Did you hear Michael Shannon talking about this?
No.
He didn't see it, but they were talking about Walken because Michael Shannon has been compared to... He's like the new generation's Walken.
That's cool.
And so he was like, yeah, I don't really know... You know how Michael Shannon doesn't have a filter?
Yes, very much so. That's what makes him fun.
Yeah, I was looking at his stuff lately. I don't know why he did that 9 Lives movie. Like, why would anybody make that 9 Lives movie? I don't understand. And he had just worked with Spacey on Elvis Nixon. I wonder if he asked him.
I'm sure he did. I guarantee you he probably asked him first day. It's like, well, I was watching that movie the other day, and it was like, I heard about you made this movie, and so I went out and checked it out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Next thing you know, I come here, and it's like, really? Why'd you make that thing?
I love how...
Really, Kevin Spacey, why did you make that thing?
There's been theories that somebody owes the mob.
I buy that.
There's been theories that Spacey's being blackmailed. There's theories of money laundering. There's a whole lot of theories about why 9 Lives exists.
I don't know much about Kevin Spacey because I'm not... I mean, I am a fan, but I'm not, like, uber fan to know this information. Kevin Spacey, what is his, like, marital status and with his family?
You mean his orientation?
No. Does he have children?
No.
Okay. That's usually the first one I would say. He made it for kids. Or grandkids. That's the first thing you could say right there. Because usually people say, well, I don't know, you really want to do this. I'm doing it for my kids. Oh, okay, I get that. That makes perfect sense. Kevin Spacey, it's not, okay, let's try option number 2. Barry Sonnenfeld really needs to get back into the spectrum again. Number 3, he just needed money. Which is probably not, because he's doing House of Cards, and that's probably not it either. It's probably a favor, honestly. I don't think it has to do with the mob or anything, but yeah, you never know. He did make Usual Suspects, so anything's possible. It's that connection. Yeah, this movie's crap. Seriously. It's like, I love cats. I do. And the only time that I've ever laughed at a cat's torment was in the Grand Budapest Hotel. But it's just like, Kevin Spacey's a talking cat. Should have been good. No. I mean,
as like Spacey's biggest fan, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Spacey as a voice actor should have been good. Maybe an animated movie, definitely not a real life one. Just
when
no.
The first time he says, "I'm a cat,"
yeah.
That was him reading the script. Like, I'm a cat? Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm going to piggyback off AJ a little bit more on this one. We actually agreed without knowing each other's lists. My number 4 is also How to Be Single. I don't like this movie. I think it's dumb. I think it is the lowest common denominator when it comes to its actual portrayal of how relationships are and aren't. Art's not a word, I know, I don't care. When it comes to that, it makes it... Well, some people don't think it is. I've actually heard that recently.
I'm thinking of ain't.
No, I've heard art's not a word. I don't know why. It's the internet, come on. Seriously. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I don't like this movie at all. It's way too long. It's boring. It's very unlikable characters that I couldn't get into whatsoever. And it's just... I'm sure Rebel Wilson's a great person. I don't buy her most of the time in roles. She's very obnoxious, but I think that's the role that she portrays. That's just what they cast her in. I'd love to see her get some sort of a range, like a Pain and Gain, but it's just... I don't know if that's coming, because I don't think her fans...
Pain and Gain wasn't range. She just happened to be funny.
It just depends on who writes your script, I guess.
Chocolate-covered ones.
Yeah, some of that... You probably would not laugh at that in another context, I have a feeling. But yeah, I don't care anymore. Like I said, my list, like I said, is very boring because I don't have like the explanations you do. So my response on this would be, I just did not like it from the beginning it started till the end of it, and I want to erase it from existence. Fair point. My number 3 is another movie I wish I could have erased from existence. That's Almost Christmas. I don't know why Will Packer's allowed to make movies. I don't. If he makes stuff like this, I don't know why he's allowed to make movies anymore. I'll say right now, I don't know why this is. I've never been able to explain this. Anybody that knows me probably doesn't really know this fact about me, but I've had this, like, ever since I was, I can't say a kid. Ever since I was probably in my 20s, or say, I've had this, like, thing for Gabrielle Union. Don't know why. It's one of those Hollywood crushes things I can't explain. And so anything she does is probably going to be a little bit better, given the fact I'm one of those guys sometimes. Most of the time, I know what you're going to say before you say it. It's just... When they started to do the episodic stuff, it just doesn't work. Like, a lot of places can make it work, and this was not one of them. I did not like this movie. There's nothing I can say. I did not like this movie at all. It had a little bit of, like, warmth to it with Danny Glover, but then that's about it.
Is that the emotion or the pie that was warm?
Oh, God. It so much helps me if you talk and not let me die on the side of my ledge here.
We only got 2 more.
Thank God. Good cast. Did nothing with them.
I don't remember. Was Omar Epps in there?
Yeah.
And J.B. Smoove.
J.B. Smoove, yes. He was fine. J.B. Smoove is almost always good. Gladys Knight here. Oh, boy. Yeah, just... Monique in this movie. There you go. There's a thing we'll hit on. Don't like Monique either. Never have been a big fan. Her character's way too over the top. I get it for a movie like this, it has to be like that, because that's conveying how quirky the family is.
I don't think she has another...
She has another level?
Yeah.
There's this switch, and it's literally just stuck at the top. It's not going anywhere. It's never flipping off.
Like, you go to turn her dial, and it's just stuck.
Yeah, it's stuck forever. Talk about actresses I don't like. And actresses I do like. My number 2 is actually going to be The Boss. Yeah, I probably never was going to like this movie. I don't like Melissa McCarthy. Haven't for quite a while. I'm sure there's definitely good movies in here, I'm positive of it, but directed by her husband is not ever going to be one of them. I will say right now that the concept of basically this being all about Girl Scout cookies.
Brownies.
Well, that's basically what it is. It's Girl Scout cookies, but it's brownies instead. That concept is just odd to me. I know why it was done the way it was. There is nothing good about McCarthy's character at all. Like, she's extremely unlikable, and that's the point. The point is for her to be the most unlikable person on the face of planet Earth. And that's the reason why it's always feeling sorry for Kristen Bell whenever she always goes after her all the time. It's not a good movie. I mean, I like Peter Dinklage here. I do. I like Peter Dinklage a lot. I wish he could do more in movies, because
they just wanted to put a sword in his hand again.
I know, but still, I mean, him with the facial hair and everything, and it's just...
Didn't he have an accent, too?
Yes, he totally did.
It was like a fake accent.
Yes. His real name was wrong, and he was like a French Renault, I believe was his name. Yeah, it's just...
I just laughed at the boss. Somebody stop me.
Oh, God. Kathy Bates is in this movie. It's just... I just don't care. I don't care about...
And Kristen Bell is hilarious.
Yeah, she is.
And they don't even give her anything funny to do.
And they give her the worst scripts, too, it seems like. She doesn't really get to shine anymore. I hope eventually she gets something good.
Well, she was...
That doesn't involve her being animated.
Well, she was okay in, like, Bad Moms.
One of the only redeeming qualities about that movie. Yeah. I know it's a torturous project. I know it's a torturous process whenever I get to my speech, because obviously I don't know what I'm talking about versus him. But I will say that right now, without any shadow of a doubt, my first video we did on this, the half year, this movie was #1. And this movie came out almost a year ago to the day.
Should be over a year by now.
Almost 5 years. 5 days difference.
Years.
5 years. It felt like it. Makes my sinuses go off. That's how bad it is. My #1, without any question, is Norm of the North. I don't know why I hate this movie so much, but I do. I love Rob Schneider. I was a big SNL fan, and still am to this day. Like,
Cedric, don't count your tips in public.
Oh, God. I don't know why this movie exists. Why do we care about this? Why was this movie made? I mean, I have went off on The Nut Job before. That was my worst of the year. And I like animated movies when they're done well. It doesn't seem like they have been much in the last several years. But this movie's horrible. Absolutely horrible. If you have a chance to watch this movie, and you have a chance to watch paint dry, or mow your lawn, or get a tooth pulled, my option would be the opposite. Because anything that I just said is not near as bad as sitting through Norm of the North.
Thank you, Leonard Maltin.
Didn't try to do that.
I was just thinking about his cameo in Gremlins 2, where he's like, I'd rather have a root canal than watch Gremlins.
I believe Pat Buttram on Tiny Toon Adventures once said, I'll eat a bucket of scorpions if I can't give you the business. Well, I'd rather eat a bucket of scorpions than watch this movie again. No offense to Rob Schneider, pick better movies, please. I don't care about a polar bear being the greatest thing in the world, being brought on the Times Square of all things to dance for us. What was that about? I have no words.
Let's not forget this is the movie where it's like, we're going to teach kids about the environment.
Yeah, it was another environmental movie.
Safe.
Yeah.
And so, how do they promote this to children that the environment's good? They name the villain Green.
Yes. And the villain is Dr. Ken himself. Yes. Never been a fan of Ken Jeong, ever. And this probably magnifies my dislike for this movie. I mean, it's just... some things you just don't do. You don't make talking polar bear movies with Rob Schneider in 2016. And you shouldn't ever again. And that's all that I need to say.
When you put Rob Schneider in an animated movie, at best, he's a very, very side character.
I wouldn't mind if he was a side character. I wouldn't mind if someone better wrote the script. But it wasn't going to happen.
He should be in movies about as long as he's in Demolition Man.
That is true. That's going to be your video. That's going to end another horrible list of movies for this year. Join us the next time that we're going to be together talking about the best of 2016, coming soon.
Hopefully not too far away.
Yeah, we're still waiting on a couple things like we talked about in the video we did for the guilds the other day. Last week, actually. So, hopefully, with any luck, since this is now a Saturday video, next week, knock on wood, you'll be able to get the best of video. And if not, hopefully before the Oscars. I can almost assure you it'll be before the Oscars. Hopefully we'll be able to see those 3 first. So that being said, what did you like about this year? Save those comments, of course, for our best of video. But what you didn't like this year, leave in the description bar below, of course, your comments. We can talk about what you thought stunk this year. So that being said, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. Continue to check out the segments here on the Popcast Network. All the movie content we have. We have a lot of verses coming up, a lot of really good ones, so stay tuned for those. And also, on top of that, we have a lot of wrestling content. We have a lot of various things coming to the network, a lot of original content and daily content. So, follow along on Twitter, on our Facebook fan page, on our Zazzle merchandise store, and also on Patreon. So, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. AJ, any parting words?
I have a headache now.